Know what, man? Cut the dang music. What's up, everybody? Happy Saturday. Hope you guys are great. Welcome to the stream. Let's get into some real stuff. Let's talk about the real stuff. Last night, because we had some wind gusts in Pittsburgh all day yesterday, it blew the power out in many places, including the pizza place. We had a cheat meal last night. Big, large pepperoni pizza and a beer. It was glorious, bro. And I am nice and chubby because of it, and I fucking love it. Power went out at the pizza place. Not a big deal. Our pizza was already made. And then Jill slept at my place last night, but her kids were home because they're home for a short break, and the power went off there. And then what happened at 3 a.m. when we were sleeping is they called us. Her kids are like old and adults, and the carbon monoxide alarm was going off in their house. And I was like, they were treating it like, no big deal. It's probably whatever. We opened the windows. I was like, dude, if the power went off, maybe the furnace is malfunctioning, releasing carbon monoxide. This could kill you. Anyway, we found out it was just a faulty end of life. The power went out, and then the backup battery and the carbon monoxide alarm was freaking out. So we went through some troubleshooting over the phone and got that squared away. But that happened. Took about 2 hours to go back to sleep. Woke up at 7:40. Went to bed at 11. Slept like garbage. I feel great, though. Let's talk about a couple things before we get to questions. Look, I know that everybody has heard drink more water. But, I watched this breakdown of Huberman, and he's one of the people that I truly trust in situations like this, the question, how much water should you drink a day? And it came out to an 8-ounce glass of water every hour for the first, 10 hours of your day? Something to this effect. That's a lot of water. And most people do not drink that much water, including me. But I started doing it recently just because, I'm working out. And by the way, that creates an environment where you need more water. It's something like your body weight divided by 6, I believe, every 15 minutes is how much water you should drink. Don't quote me. It's something similar to that. So it's a lot more water. And since in the morning, first thing, I've been just drinking a glass of water, within a half an hour, drink another one for 10 hours. I pee more. But I feel fucking magnificent, dude. Water. Who knew? I mean, honestly, big upgrade. I usually feel pretty good, but I feel magnificent. Just wanted to share that with you folks. All right, let's get to protocol hacking. Those of you that are just jumping into the stream, ask questions, man. Let's make this a banger. Let's discuss all the topics, every one of them, around dialing in on TRT. For those that are always curious, I'm still running 5 clicks of 100 milligram transcrotal cream. I had shifted to 3 on the forearm, bicep, 2 on the scrotum after some pretty heavy hair loss. And that functioned very well with enough DHT for erection quality, and it gave me a bigger libido boost, which was interesting. But then it went to shit in the last week. It was like a week and a half ago. I started noticing EQ was starting to be worse. And then it basically failed, and that's for me the point at which estrogen overcrowds DHT. So went and got labs, still waiting on those, but I bet ET will be like 42, 45, something like that. So Cialis in the meantime, it just basically came back in the last 2-3 days because I switched back to 5 on the scrotum. So sometimes that happens if you're running scrotal cream, and there's a lag period between the time that erections either go south when you get less DHT, and then when they come back again when you have enough DHT. So I'm in that period now where they basically just came back after a week hiatus essentially. And so, all is well. So, for me, I'll run this cycle again. Then once the hair loss becomes very noticeable and intolerable, or just the hair thinning, really, then I'll just switch back to some forearm and everything would be good for a month and a half, 2 months or whatever. And then, the DHT at the penis, the androgen signaling will reduce as it does and become an imbalanced ratio of estrogen versus DHT, and we'll go back to scrotum. So, it's a point that I want to make to people. Sometimes that has to happen on cream. Sometimes that has to happen. Set it and forget it isn't not necessarily possible for everyone. Sometimes you just need to switch things up for whatever reason is, in this case, hair loss driving that to happen, and it's totally okay. I also see people on cypionate that tend to not do well on a static dose, but they'll do well if they're doing like 40 milligrams every other day, and then they switch it to 20 milligrams every other day the next week, and then 40 milligrams every other day. You know, they're hovering. It allows them to hover around the spot without taking an AI. So get crafty with your protocols, boys. Get crafty with your protocols, and don't think that it's a failure if you have to do a different protocol one week that's similar. Switch it the next week, or, you know, add a hybrid, things like that. All right, let's talk about, let's get some questions in here. Oh, I wanted to say to you guys, look, I am running 30% off of this thing right now. 30%. It's a big discount. So that is in the description of the video. You can find it just in the description, the code. You enter that at checkout at livecortex.com once you've added Mastering Libido and Erections on TRT to your carts, and you can get a 30% off right now. That's a big weekend deal. I just set it out to the thousands of people that are on our email list, so you guys will see that if you're on there. And have at it, my brothers. Okay, let's get to questions. Brothers. All right, when building a hybrid protocol with cypionate and cream, how do you decide which one is the main driver and which just supports it? Well, I think it's all situationally dependent. It could be either, and the decision really depends on what you're already on. So as an example, if you're running testosterone cypionate and you're up there in dose at 150, 160, and you realize, hey, you know, I can't manage estrogen this way. If I take an AI, it causes estrogen to go haywire. It's never balanced. I get joint pain or whatever you get. Then it might be time to reduce the dose. You reduce the dose down to 110 milligrams a week of cypionate. You inject that every day. You got your baseline of HCG. And then what usually happens is you either dial in perfectly, you have enough anabolism and everything else, or you get the estrogen in range, but erections aren't stellar and something's missing. And that's usually DHT. Because if you go down 110 milligrams of cypionate, I mean, think about the DHT conversion with an already moderate systemic DHT converting ester like cypionate. It's high systemic T, higher systemic aromatization, moderate DHT. It's not ideal in a lot of cases. Then you just need more DHT, and that's the point at which you would apply a pump of preferably lower concentration cream to the scrotum every day or every other day. Dial your balance in and see what ultimately works. Then you'll have enough DHT and you'll be in the perfect balance. Conversely, if you're already on cream, say you're running either 3 clicks of the 200 milligram stuff a day or 5 clicks of the 100 milligram stuff a day, and you have erections, but your libido is suffering, that means you need to infuse a little more estrogen. So, I mean, sure, you could actually just inject some estrogen valerate at that point or increase your HCG dose. But if that doesn't work, adding an aromatizable substrate, preferably a long ester in that case, once or twice a week, one bolus of 40 milligrams or 50 milligrams or 30 milligrams, whatever doesn't take you over an estradiol once a week, or you do 2 shots of 20 milligrams or 25 milligrams, you know, twice a week. Just every 3.5 days, 25 milligrams. Next 3.5 days, 25 milligrams. And then that brings the libido right up to like 31, 32, like right in your zone. Whereas previously with just cream, because it's so DHT heavy, the E2 is sitting at 20. So that's why you had stellar erections, stellar morning wood, automatic nocturnals, but your libido wasn't great. Yeah, the system does have to be in a balance, and you've got to have the estrogen, you know, high normal for a lot of folks. It's a good template to work from. Yeah, that's a good template to work from. So that's kind of how you decide. At the same time, I mean, if you're just running cream in that case, you could switch that with prop. The doses will be different because prop hits big, it hits quick, and it tends to exaggerate DHT and estradiol. So it's like you need less of it. You would run like 10 milligrams every other day or something with prop, maybe 20 milligrams every third day, and just find your sweet spot. Again, when erections fail, as long as DHT is high enough, it's just estrogen, and you've got to dial the dose back down and find the sweet spot. So there's all kinds of situations, but those are the primary ones. Morning, Ryan. Best area to apply cream for maximum 5AR conversion to DHT besides the scrotum? You're not going to like this answer. Nowhere. Nope. I've proven that with myself. I've proven it with clients over the years. You switch to, especially dominantly biceps, shoulders, whatever, you're going to get less DHT. Like the scrotal skin is not only the most permeable site for transdermal testosterone on the male body, period, that's been proven in the literature, but it's also the site which induces the highest conversion to dihydrotestosterone. Full stop. That's a fact. Like there is no other site. So the answer is there is no other site for maximum DHT. Now, could you apply it like to the perineum? Potentially. It's just, I don't really know the 5-AR density there. You know, you do have organs effectively, seminal vesicles in that area, which, you know, have DHT, and you've got the prostate as well. So, I mean, that's a possibility. You'd be experimenting and teaching us all a lesson if you did that, because I've never done that. Nor do I suggest people do that. But the scrotum is the best place to apply it. Now, again, like I said, you're going to get so much DHT with that you might end up having DHT side effects like hair loss. It happened to me. It happens to clients of mine. You know, and then you shift to a split of another body part, preferably the biceps, and then still some on the scrotum. You ride that out until things fall apart, because erections usually will fall apart at that point. Depends on the person, but the DHT hungry people that really live on DHT, I don't know what that is. Genes, hypogonadism for a while. Otherwise, you know, they're going to need to switch then back once erectile quality fails. If estrogen goes over the range, or if it starts kind of imbalancing the ratio between it and DHT, then you switch back to the scrotum. But generally, not really generally, scrotum is the only site for maximum DHT conversion. Dream Tracer, do you remember how long your androgen DHT took? That was about a month, I want to say. Yeah. It was about a month. Now, make sure, though, that DHT is what you need. The thing to determine that would be to measure the blood of DHT and see where it is relative to your estrogen. Like if the estrogen's at 25 or something, and you know your DHT is sitting at 45 or 50, yeah, it probably should be higher than that if you want to get better erections, or just the benefits from DHT. If it's sitting at 100 plus nanograms per deciliter, you shouldn't need more DHT than that. The only way you'd need more DHT is if your estrogen was 55 or above, because then, you know, the DHT can kind of counter that and it gets in a better ratio. But again, then you run all the risks of too much DHT. So it's never really good to get up that way. While you're waiting, if you have Proviron, you could substitute DHT with that, and it should work pretty much the same way or similarly. Can we talk about transference risk with test cream? How big of an issue is it really? I don't really see it to be that big of an issue. You know, I have a lot of clients that use cream, but I also use cream myself. And, you know, the schedule with my life and business and my girl's schedule, we don't have sex in the morning often. You know, we may on a Sunday or something like that, but it doesn't happen often, but it has happened while I was on cream, and there was nothing. You know, there was no negative side effects, and, you know, we definitely ran that risk, and she knew that risk. An hour after I had applied the cream, you know, nothing. You know, nothing at all. She didn't start growing a beard. She didn't turn from her normal feminine sweet self to a fucking Italian guy, an Italian masculine man. She didn't do that. So is it a risk? Yes. Some people do report negatives. You do got to watch that. Is it substantial? Not really. Where's the Red Bull, brother? Dude, as I said in the beginning, it's the most rudimentary thing. Sometimes we hear advice and we go, yeah, well, dude, I've heard that 1,000 times. You know, it's too generic. Give me something profound. And the best advice is usually not that profound. It's very simple advice. And I watched Huberman talk about the necessity, the actual water quantity we need to be optimal, showing studies which show us that even a 2% reduction in hydration reduces cognition by a lot. So I recently started drinking 8-ounce glasses, an 8-ounce glass of water every hour for the first 10 hours of the day. Yes, I have dramatically ramped up my urination, but I really don't mind because I fucking feel fantastic. So no Red Bull for now. I drank coffee in the morning, talking about the business of life with Jill, as we do every morning. Coffee really helped because, as I said, her adult kids were home with a power outage last night while she was here, and the carbon monoxide alarm went off, and they called us at 3 a.m. to figure it out. But I'm all right, and they're fine. It wasn't detecting carbon monoxide. Hey, man, love the content. Switching from cream over to 35 of SIP 3 times a week and 25 Proviron. And that might work. Just trying to nail the DHT to balance with more stable T levels than cream. That might work for you. As I commented to you yesterday when you said this, I've given you many suggestions on the stream. One of the suggestions, I believe, though, was not to change your protocol completely. Just add a hybrid of cypionate once a week or every 3.5 days. Then you'll reach that stability, and it probably won't mess with libido or erections. But this is a case of, and this happens to some people, and those people also may have to apply some cream in the evening instead of in the morning too. So just a little bit in the evening. We've been through this. I'm not sure why you asked what to do, because we've been through it, and I remember everything, dude. So you might need to do either of those things. Audacity, are topical hair loss products really a problem? Yes. The answer is yes. Like some say, are they safer than oral ones? No, they are not safer. Any middle ground solution between keeping hair and keeping DHT high? No, not a safe one. Not a penis safe one. Yeah. No. The answer is no. I mean, and it's not just because I'm biased, which admittedly I am. I'm biased for a reason, and it's because I would wager that I'm the guy that sees the most PFS people besides perhaps Alex Kickle in the world. So, the extreme cases I've seen, like gender dysphoria, where males start feeling like they're females. Obviously, complete loss of erection, loss of sensation, loss of libido, just zero, negative. You don't want to mess with that. You don't want to mess with it. Now, although I can revive these guys pretty quickly, if you're going at it alone, it's going to take you 5 years to sift through all the bullshit on the forums, which is all bullshit about what to do. And all the bullshit which says, hey, I tried TRT and it didn't work. That's because you had a protocol that probably skewed the ratios. You over-aromatized. You didn't control estrogen. The DHT wasn't high enough. So, you don't want to go through that. Not to mention the depression that comes with it, which sometimes makes people take their lives. So no, these aren't safer. Listen, the scalp has blood vessels. If that dutasteride or finasteride permeates those blood vessels, which it will, it's going systemic. Don't make the mistake of believing the marketing. Topical means it's not, whatever. It's just working locally at the hair follicle level. It's going to permeate your blood vessels. It's going to end up in your system. You're going to inhibit 5-alpha reductase enzymes everywhere. And you're eventually going to have erectile dysfunction. Still bullish on nootropics. Yeah, certainly for the right person. I don't take them much anymore because I just don't need them. I took a lot of heavy research chemicals for many years. Hydra 21, 9-MEBC, dihexa, C-Max, C-Lank, Nupept, all the racetams, Sunifaram, Unifaram. And I swear, I don't know if there's any way to prove this, but I swear my brain works better now because I took a bunch of nootropics for many years. I mean, think about the kind of optimization I did, not just on a daily basis with racetams. They're just forcing acetylcholine signaling to be better in the acute period. But over time with the, neurogenesis inducing, actual brain reparative inducing nootropics. So I really don't care to take them anymore. Honestly, my cup of coffee in the morning is fine, and I apply testosterone cream, which is a nootropic in and of itself, so I feel great. But yeah, I mean, I certainly think that people can benefit from them. I mean, look, I used to coach people for years and years and years on nootropics, and these were executives and CEOs of big companies and programmers and shit. And I had to get those guys firing on 170%, and we did. They work. Have you ever tried oral tests? No. Tried a 30-day sample. I do not see it as a standalone protocol, but as a hybrid could work. the mental side was very noticeable. Yeah, I bet. I mean, listen, I believe that those things are pretty fast acting. So, it's kind of cool in that regard. But yeah, as far as I know, what oral test and even the nasal stuff does is convert less to the metabolites and kind of keeps you with a lot of testosterone. Therefore, it would actually convert ultimately more to estradiol, which is not going to be good for sexual function. I don't think they're as evolved as they need to be to become mainstream TRT. I would not use them for TRT. I wouldn't even trial them. Is boron that important for T? Boron is not important for T. It's irrelevant. Yeah, maybe it lowers SHBG a little, and literature shows us it can either increase or reduce estradiol, and it's not clear. It's irrelevant, dude. I bought the source list last year and can't access it anymore. Why are you asking this on the stream? You'll have to purchase it again. It was updated. And the link doesn't, you have to download it. We can't host your link on our server forever. People just click the link and it opens the PDF in their browser, and they don't you want to own it? You have to download it. So at this point, you'll have to repurchase it. It's also changed since. And when you do, download it so that you have it forever. Any thoughts on the anabolic doc protocol? 100 milligrams sip every 5 days. Well, I like Dr. Thomas O'Connor, is it? I like him. I've watched a ton of his content over the years. That protocol makes logical sense because it allows a peak and trough, but it also allows you to hover, if that dose works every 5 days for you, in the zone with estradiol and should give you enough DHT. However, some people gobble up testosterone and metabolize it super quickly, and their body needs more of it more consistently. And 100 milligrams every 5 days will make them feel like absolute shit. Like me. If I did that, I would feel like dog shit. Yeah, I wouldn't feel good. Now, it'd probably land things in a reasonable place, but it's not enough testosterone for me. It's just not. Regarding the anabolic doc, I will say that I get some of his people that had previously worked with him, and I don't know if it's the not manage estrogen thing or what it is, but those guys are in bad shape. So keep that in mind. Don't ask that question on the stream. We don't sell that, and we can't tell you, where to get it. We've got links in the description for our website, which is very informative on this sort of stuff, but please don't ask that kind of question on the stream. Think about it. This is YouTube. Opinion on test prop for test base. Okay, so 30 milligrams every other day of prop as a base to get E2 in range. And then starting at 1%, 1 milligram of 20% DHT diluted down. I think it could work. Yeah, probably, though, because prop is pretty DHT heavy and gives you a good peak, you might end up with enough DHT even if you don't use the exogenous DHT. But you'll have to figure that out. It's like if you measure estrogen and it's in range, I could call it high normal, like 27, 28 or something. But erections are bad, and you measure DHT and it's sitting mid-range, then yeah, probably you could use a little more DHT. Yeah. But if that DHT is high, you probably don't need more DHT. I think that it is not a bad idea. Any solution to early morning awakening? Yeah, I mean, hormones influence this to a degree, to a strong degree. I mean, if you're over in estradiol and your body is like freaking out because it doesn't know what to do with that, then yeah, you're going to be waking up in the middle of the night for sure. Well, it depends on how early. I mean, is this 5 a.m.? Because that's a little too early, 6 a.m., you could probably make it work and get up. But frankly, what works for me, because again, we were woken up in the middle of the night last night with a, problem with Jill's kids, and we got back to sleep within about an hour and a half. but it was because we had to deal with this dilemma, and then we were talking about it in bed. And then when it was time to go to sleep, the thing that works really well for me is I meditated for on and off for 20 years now. So I kind of know how to shut my brain down. So I kind of do the action of meditation in my head and take big, like long, deep breaths. Just big, deep breaths. And then the final key to that, if I can't actually clear my brain, I just picture myself doing something that I want to do, a goal, or some crazy thing that I'll probably never do in life, but I can daydream about or night dream. And then I usually just fall asleep doing that. Yeah. You've got to get control of it in your head. That's really what it is. And you've got to figure that out because no one's going to help you. If someone has high DHEA sulfate levels on a blood test, it's still beneficial for them to take DHEA. Not necessarily. I mean, the bloods look fine. It's just that exogenous DHEA converts some more DHT from testosterone in the penis. And you do want that. So, but for some people, oddly, it causes them to aromatize like 20 points over what they would without taking DHEA, which is bad. I mean, that's terrible. So, you just got to see what works and go from there. What's my take on using a syringe to measure out and titrate higher concentration test cream? I think that you would be pushing, biohacking territory there. It's not something any of us have ever done before. So, I also think it would be really hard because of how the viscosity of testosterone cream to get it into the syringe. Yeah. It'd be pretty hard to get it into the syringe. Like I can't even get DHT oil in a syringe. I have tried it. It's not doable. What do you feel about donating blood on long-term TRT for blood thickness, and does it affect erections? Well, no, giving blood won't affect erections. Having substantially high hematocrit theoretically could affect erections, although it usually does not. I really don't see that being a problem. The problem, of course, is elevated hemoglobin and elevated hematocrits. I mean, guys get short of breath and they get dizzy at the gym when that happens, and that's because your fucking blood is thicker. And you're reducing, the oxygen that moves around your body. These people that are on the internet telling you that because folks live in Colorado and have 56 hematocrit that it's safe for you. First of all, it's an entirely different context. You don't live in Colorado at high altitude. Secondly, there's a reference range on the viscosity of your blood. Don't think you want to cross over that reference range. It's bad advice. It's bad advice. It's very bad advice. But those guys, and you guys know who I'm talking about, love to be contrarian. So part of it is that. Just sitting there disagreeing with what we already know just to be that guy. Study hematological physiology, and no, it is not a good idea to have high hematocrit or hemoglobin. It's not. So giving blood is the quickest solution to that because it's going to drop a couple points immediately. Drinking loads of water is another solution to it, and taking Naringin and doing cardio is another one. As you probably know, you could reduce your ferritin to unhealthy levels if you do it a lot. So just be aware of that. Otherwise, it's phenomenal. I had high hematocrit on TRT, when I was just pushing high doses of test, and this was many years back, and I had symptoms. Or then I went and gave blood, and I fucking felt remarkable. Instantly better. So, was that placebo? I don't think so. No, it wasn't. What is your opinion about fasting? Do you practice it? If yes, how do you do it? My opinion on fasting is it is obviously good to turn on autophagy, the recycling of your cells, and thus the optimization of your cells. It's good to improve the migrating motor complex of your digestion, just the system that moves food along, and that happens and gets kind of a good reset if you fast. So all of that is really good. You could certainly shed some body fat really quickly when you fast. So extremely useful in all those regards. But when people make it a lifestyle and fast just to fast because it's a lifestyle, you start starving yourself. Yeah. And things are going to go wrong in your body when you do not consume calories. So just do it in a controlled manner and don't go extreme with it, and you should be fine. That's what I think. How reliable has steroid plotter been in my experience? Any pro tips or cautions for getting the best results with TRT? Yeah, it's pretty reliable. Now, of course, people are going to, their blood levels of hormones, testosterone specifically, is not going to act in accordance with steroid plotter. You know, how could it? But it's pretty close, you know? Yeah. Steroid plotter considers the pharmacokinetics of each ester and, you know, gives you what it thinks the blood levels will be and when they peak and trough. And it is a great template, I would say that. Now, of course, it isn't going to be 100% accurate, but I think it's definitely not like radically inaccurate. I think it's good. Do over-aromatizers have hope with a once-a-week bolus plus an AI? Yes. Or should they go straight to the fail-safe protocol? No, I think you should try, you know, using AIs first or Primo or something. Yeah, because, I mean, there are plenty of people super happy and super dialed in on 200 milligrams of Tast and 0.25 Arimidex the next day, or same dose of Tast and 50 to 100 milligrams of Primo the next day, or microdosing, but microdosing everything. There are plenty of people dialed in that way. So you can do it, but I mean, it is a little harder because people often will take more of the estrogen reducing compound sooner than they should because, they're observing their symptoms and things aren't right, but they're not backing it up with labs. So, and they're not factoring in the terminal life of the aromatase inhibitor. They're only thinking about the half-life. So they think after 2 days, the Arimidex is out. Actually, at day 5, it's still blocking estrogen, just, to a lesser extent. So that's what makes them hard to dial in. But generally, yes, if you're an over-aromatizer, I have a few of those now. One of them is a PFS client. He's dialed in on test cream, HCG, and an aromatase inhibitor, and he takes 0.125 every other day. I don't like that, but the guy hasn't had erection function and sexual function for years, and now he does. Sometimes it's just what works. It's just what works. If I had to pick between citicoline or Alcar for a nootropic, quite honestly, I would say Alcar, because citicoline you can't take every day. You will eventually just run into too much brain acetylcholine. Noopept is the shit, brother. Testosterone cream is the best nootropic. Its effects can be felt immediately. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Like I slept a total of maybe 6 hours last night, I want to say. We fell asleep at 11, woke up at 3 due to a problem with Jill's kids, and then we're up to about 5. And then ultimately fell back asleep and got up at like 7:40. So I don't actually know how many hours that is. And I did not sleep good. Like I didn't sleep good. I was interrupted in the critical part of your sleep where it should be streamlined. It was interrupted for 2 hours. But I feel fine. I noticed that I did not sleep well. But the test cream has, kicked in. Had some coffee and, I feel good. I feel good enough, just tired. I gained weight over the last 6 months due to mostly stressed. BMI about 25. I know tea and fat not good. Do you think I should lower the dose or get off a bit? I don't think you should get off. I think absolutely you should drop the weight. If you're having trouble dropping weight, it is simply because you are consuming more calories than you are burning. Don't let anyone ever tell you any differently. If you plateau when you're in a calorie reduction or actual calorie deficit, that means you need a cheat day to get things, metabolism firing again, and then you go back down to the deficit. But the best way to lose weight is sustainably over time. 3-4 days out of the week, you go in a mild calorie deficit, and then the other days you eat maintenance, and then maybe 1 day every 2 weeks you eat a surplus. And then that's a sustainable, you'll sustainably just shed fat. Yeah. That's what you need to do. It's the only way to do it. It's the only way to do it. And there is no other factor there that makes people have trouble losing weight. If you plugged every single thing you eat, it's like people will say, well, I'm eating vegetables and this and that. Like, it's not about the diet. It is about the total calorie number for the day. You plugged it all into MyFitnessPal or another calorie counting app, it will tell you exactly what you're getting. And so you need to find your maintenance number, the number at which if you ate that many calories every day, your weight would stay exactly the same. Exactly. And then you just go below that 300 calories for 4 days a week. Go to that maintenance for the 3 days a week, the other 3 days of that week. And once every 2 weeks, eat a cheat meal, like where you just go crazy. You will sustainably lose weight that way. You will. But yeah, I mean, in the end, yes, just more fat tissue is more tissue for aromatase enzymes to be present in, and you're ultimately going to aromatize more with more fat tissue. That's just the bottom line. Good morning, brother. What are the patterns you've seen in PFS? The primary patterns is that people's enzymatic reactions to testosterone are skewed in favor of estradiol. So like, a normal person would aromatize 100 milligrams of testosterone cypionate a week injected daily with 100 IU of HCG every day into about 15 estradiol and moderate DHT. Those guys on that dose have like 40 estradiol and low DHT. Because their body is still working in this broken state of inhibited 5-alpha reductase enzymes, once they stop being inhibited by, finasteride or dutasteride or curcumin, does that too. It's like they're still stuck in this state of underconversion to DHT and overconversion to estradiol. What does that tell us? It tells us that either the quantity or the function of the 5-AR enzymes is down. That's what it tells us. That's why it's Russian roulette with your dick and your life to take hair loss drugs, because we do not know the extent to which they actually like permanently damage 5-alpha reductase enzyme function. We know that in 8 weeks of dutasteride treatment in rats, it induces what they call an irreversible ED. Irreversible. Now, it isn't irreversible because they need to you restore the DHT, which then goes and acts like a repair agent to penile vasculature. You will restore the erections in time. That's the primary pattern I see. The other pattern would be that some people, although few than others, can just do a fail-safe cypionate protocol, like 100 milligrams a week with a little bit of HCG and dial in that way. But a good degree of them have to take test cream because that's a DHT-centric TRT modality. It's the best thing for those people because it fixes the problem they have, which is not enough DHT conversion and too much estrogen conversion. So cream is like the anti-PFS. And in other cases, they've got to dose high amounts of a long ester with an AI. And that works too. With of course, HCG is in every protocol. Big Z, if I did a hybrid protocol with how aggressive I peak on cream, I would need to only take 2 to 3 pumps of 100 milligram cream with a small amount of sip to keep E2 in range. Okay. I don't see that you're asking a question there, but seems to make sense. How many milligrams of cream are you on a week? 125? No, I'm on 125 a day. So that's 125 times 10 by 800, 900 or something. 125 times 7, 875 milligrams a week. But listen, the discrepancy, you're going, what? I'd be jacked if I was on like truly 875 milligrams. I'm not on a very anabolic dose, although I'm anabolic enough. I've kept all my gains from the cycle. I look insane with a pump and shredded at the gym and shit, and I feel big. I'm strong. So yeah, I'm still above a natty, but I'm not pushing steroid territory. But it's 10% cream. So I mean, if you take that 125 per day and do that calculation for the fact that you're only getting 10% of it, it's something like 12 to 14 milligrams. Yeah, 12 and a half milligrams a day. But since it hits so quickly, it feels like I'm dosing like 140 or 150 of Cypionate a week. It feels comparable to that, energy-wise, you know, and even more so because it peaks in the morning and you just feel that. Yeah, I've got energy all day long, man. So it's 125 a day and 875 a week, but it's 10% concentration. So, you know, you're only absorbing 10% of that 875. So the total weekly absorption, no, that can't be right. Yeah, well, what is 12.5 times 7? Yeah, it's 87.5. Oh, it's not a lot of testosterone. But again, cream works differently. It hits you quicker. You feel it quicker. Stays physiologic for a while. On the current protocol, I just had to add more HCG because switched back to the very scrotal heavy, very DHT heavy part of it after going split for a while, which eventually settled the hair thing, but lost me DHT. I'm peaking at about 850, you know, trough around 500, something like that. What was the most severe nutritional deficiency you ever suffered from? Nutritional deficiency? I don't think I ever suffered from one. Probably when I went keto like 14 years ago. Yeah, with deficiency in carbohydrates. That would be it. People like to argue with me about keto. It's like, before you were even thinking about it, I was studying all the prevalent people at the time and did it. What's your client's experience with oral DHT? Well, there's no oral DHT. There's only misterolone. Does it increase luteinizing hormone or follicle stimulating hormone? No. Also, how long after taking oral DHT should I wait before seeing the misses? I don't have any experience with oral DHT. Are you referring to Proviron? And your question assumes you don't really understand what's going on here. Yeah. It's not going to increase luteinizing hormone or FSH. And yeah, it's too general of a question. I don't know your situation. I don't know if you're natty or not natty. I don't know what your blood looks like. I can't answer that, man. Would you ever move up to the Southwest, to Southwest Asia? No. Now, I'll be in the States my whole life, and, you know, unless, I don't know, when I reach $5 million in the bank, like I decide, hey, I want to move to Europe, but I don't really think I care. The States is, you know, there's a lot of problems with the United States, but I think I will be here forever. You know, later on in life, I mean, really the next 5 years, I'm going to be taking more vacations through the States. I really don't love going overseas, man. I went to Iraq, and I'm kind of done with going overseas. You know, I don't know. It doesn't appeal to me to go to Europe and, you know, drink coffee and be with a bunch of European people like they're all good and everything. I just, you know, it's not something I'm interested in. For a PFS guy wanting to try out prop, what are good peak and trough numbers to shoot for? You really want to look at keeping estrogen between 15 and 35 picograms per milliliter in that window. Yeah. DHT, it should be above 50 throughout. And total T should be no lower than 400 nanograms per deciliter. When you start taking Anavar, what will you change in your current protocol? Nothing, because I don't need to. Anavar does not disturb my sexual function at all. It doesn't disturb anything but lower SHBG a little bit. Mine's already sitting at 10 to 12, so, you know, it's not problematic there, and isn't when it's at 7 with Proviron. And nothing. I won't really do anything else. I'll still have a cheat day. I'll keep the same diet. I'll just fucking pack on mass and grow. But I am thinking about doing it somewhat soon. I don't know if it's going to be the summer or what, but I'm getting the itch to go on a cycle again, and it won't be like a true cycle. It'll just be probably 10 milligrams of Anavar a day for 3 months. Yeah, and then I'm just gonna go nuts at the gym, and every like where I am with lifts, I'm just going to increase them gradually so that I can put on some more lean tissue. I'm doing it now, but really slowly. But once Anavar's in the picture, it'll accelerate it a lot. Cummingsdale purchased the TRT cream protocol. So the cream course. Also been informed, I want to try dialing on Cypionate one last time for switch to cream. I'm injecting 40 milligrams every other day of 200 milligram per. Right. Yeah. So you're at 140 of test a week. If you have HCG there, likely you're going to over aromatize and you will not be dialed in. If I were you, I would take that. I would inject every day, and I would inject like 15 milligrams a day and get estrogen in range, because you almost definitely will that way, and have 100 IU of HCG every day in the picture. Then I'd measure estrogen, after an injection, a couple hours after an injection, to see where you're, pushing toward the peak. If you want to get more data, get it at the trough too before the injection, so you know the range of where you are. And if everything isn't perfect regarding sexual function, you just need more DHT. That's all. Like if erections specifically aren't good, you need a little more DHT. And then you would use a pump of cream on top of your Cypionate protocol. Yes. The answer is yes. If you feel like applying even small amount of DHT is overwhelming the E2 in your testes, what do you think of trying 1 milligram of DHT in the delts if super sensitive? Okay, so you've tried doing this and you get like low estrogen side effects from doing that. That's totally possible to happen. DHT is extremely counteractive to estrogen. If you put it on the scrotum too, it's like so permeable. You get loads of DHT. You'll notice everything that DHT brings, good and bad, if it's like super high. And the answer would be, the delts have a good degree of androgen receptors too, man. Probably the biceps would be better. Biceps. But this can happen, Look, people are sensitive to ratios and stuff. So it's like if you put a lot of DHT, especially if you don't need it, or if estrogen's already really kind of on the low end, like too low, then you're going to feel like you took an AI a little bit. Not that extreme, but to some extent, it's going to feel like that. So, you definitely have to dial in the DHT. It's got to be approached, judiciously. Every time I use HCG, I get ED symptoms. Sorry if dumb question. Any advice on how to combat this as a progesterone thing? No, it's taking you over an estrogen. That's all. Yeah. It's not also, you have to think about it a lot more granularly, because I don't see your dose here of HCG, and I also don't see your protocol. All that matters. Why wouldn't it matter? Why are you not including that? You can't say every time I use HCG. What does that mean? You're on 180 a week a test, and well, of course it's going to make you over aromatized then. But that's a very different thing if you're on 100 milligrams a test a week and use HCG and get AD, and it takes you over an E2. That means you have an over aromatization problem, or you're a hyperresponder to Cypionate. So you got to get a little more granular about this stuff with yourself. Forget about me. But the answer to why HCG will cause ED for people is it's taking you over. It's the number one cause of ED on TRT, no matter what, including in this situation, is your DHT to estrogen ratio is imbalanced, and you don't have enough DHT to support the estrogen hormone milieu you currently have, or you do have enough DHT, but the estrogen is too high for your body. When we were natties, we managed DHT and estrogen, but especially estrogen, in a tight window. When you inject or apply testosterone to yourself exogenously, your body is no longer in control of that. You are now in control of that. So you now have to craft a protocol so that your body can look at these ratios and deal with these hormone milieus and go, oh, in this ratio, I can make erections and libido. But in this ratio here, I'm unable to make erections and libido. It really helps to think of it that way. Your body's not equipped to make erections when DHT is at 45 and estrogen's at 57. It does not know how to make erections in that state. It doesn't know how to make them. Whereas if DHT is 90 and estrogen's 30, then it goes, oh, I know how to make erections here. This is easy. Because I have enough dihydrotestosterone to keep the health of the smooth muscle, endothelium, nitric oxide synthase function of the penis. So I can keep the chambers of the penis filled with blood and keep it trapped in there because I have enough DHT to support that. And I don't have overloads of estrogen, which would negate that. That's how you have to think about it. So it's almost definitely just causing you to have an imbalance in DHT to estrogen. That's just what it does. If it's dosed too high or too infrequently, they can do that. In context with your TRT protocol, which in this case assumes the dose is high, too high. Injecting 40 milligrams every other day of cypionate, it's 140 a week, yes. No, DIM will not help. DIM is not an AI. It does not control estrogen. Diindyl methane is something that converts, your estrogen into other estrogens. It does not work like that. No. Would love if you came out with videos or guides on how to start a business since you've done multiple. Maybe. I mean, eventually, like in addition to keeping Cortex Labs for, the next 20 years or 30 years or whatever, I'm going to, have a personal channel, which I have, and I used to do a little bit of motivational content and stuff, but I am huge into personal development. That's all I do. It's all I think about, is improving myself. So I will at one point do content on that. And that will discuss business, Business is largely like the bullshit you learn in business school, which I never went to, will make you fail usually because none of it talks about the only thing that matters, which is sales and marketing. And in this world, you have to reach enough people to put your product or service in front of in order for you to do anything, any kind of revenue. And you have to solve people's problems. The best businesses solve people's problems, like ours. It's a life-changing thing when you have no erections and no libido and your marriage is about to go down the tubes, and then you get it all back and you fix your marriage. It's life-changing. We fix problems. TRT causes problems when dosed incorrectly, when using crappy protocols from the clinics, when not understanding the granularity of the ratios of DHT to estrogen, and when listening to some of the people out there giving you bad advice about estrogen. It causes problems. So we solve those problems by using a logical framework, a science-based framework to fix erections and libido on TRT by establishing protocols that the ratios make sense, and your body then goes, I know how to make erections with this, but I can't make erections with that other thing. If you have a business that solves problems for people, you will do great if you have enough people to show it to. Like, what's the biggest thing that I, have recently, paid for, which solved the problem? One of them is editing stuff. Like I use Final Cut Pro to edit, but there's a number of different extensions that cause me to be able to use different graphics and all this stuff. And I recently upgraded that and I pay a monthly fee for that. That's a wonderful business because it makes my life easier and it solves the problem of, first of all, making editing take less time, but also adding a more modern look to videos. What an epic business. So that's really the basis for it. The other basis for it is you must have, and this applies to anything in life, so I think this is good advice. You must have an unyielding demeanor to you. You do not slow down. You do not stop. Take a vacation when you want, but your mindset has to be, I'll die first. I'm doing this or I'll die first, You can't have a plan B in anything that you decide to do in life, because why would you leave room for the possibility of what you want to do not happening? That's what a plan B is. You decide on what you're going to do, and that's it. That's it. Those are the things that really make people successful in business. Talk yourself into shit. Don't talk yourself out of shit. If I go to do something new in life, like business or otherwise, I think it's going to work the first time. It usually doesn't. But that's how I keep myself motivated. I only see the upside in stuff. Only. I never talk myself out of things. Most people, when they try to grow in life, they list all the reasons why shit won't work. Here's why it won't work. Oh, well, this will happen. What if this happens? I do none of that, dude. Because I know those things are going to happen, and I'll just deal with them when they happen. It's not going to stop me from taking action is the main point. Because if you're focused on all the reasons something won't work, you will never do anything. You're just gonna. It's just your learned helplessness, and your brain is stopping you from moving. That's the best advice I can give in business and in life. Want to keep HCG dose at 125 on prop, but don't want to overshoot the E2. Thoughts on 10 milligrams of prop, 125. This looks fine, but I don't know how you respond to prop. I had a guy go over 1,500 on 15 milligrams of prop a day. That's crazy. That's considering I on 25 go to like 700 peak, 400 trough, 25 E2. So, it just depends on how much testosterone like peaks from that dose. What do I think of using strobilurin plus 90BC? I think you can do it and they won't interact negatively and they'll probably be just a net benefit. Why does Alcar make me feel weak even at 250 milligram doses or less? Probably because you're not tolerating the extra acetylcholine that it's making. And your brain doesn't need it. Your brain doesn't like it. That's probably why. All right, it's 250 to 300 milligrams of Test E, 500 of HCG, with 50 of Primobolan a week to control E2 a good approach. You can try that and run the bloods on estradiol ultrasensitive after 4 weeks and see where that Primo is taking the estrogen, like how much it's lowering it. It already factors in a good template because the 1-1 ratio often blocks aromatase too much and kills people's libido. Only bodybuilders seem to be able to tolerate that shit, not TRT people or super over aromatizers. Tolerate like 100, like a 1-1, like 250 a test and 250 a Primobolan. It's pretty rare that works. For cycle purposes, it's great. For anabolic purposes, it's amazing. But for controlling estrogen, that 50 might be fine. You're just going to have to see. If it isn't after 4 weeks, you run it and you have erection problems specifically. As long as estrogen isn't like tanking, and that's why you have erectile dysfunction, that'll cause that too, then you increase it to 75. You run that again for 4 weeks. You run the labs again. Long esters take time. If it's Primobolan enanthate, which it probably is, it takes 4 weeks to at least see where things are. All right, I got to do a pee break and grab some more water. Be right back, boys. Next. Yeah, dude, unlike TRT doses, I can only tolerate like 40, 50 milligrams Primo a week. So A lot of people are like that, man. Strong stuff. I like the acute sexual effects of taking Alcar after a while, but it gives me brain fog at any dose. Yeah, it's increasing acetylcholine too much, and you need to stop taking it. Megatron. Nemo. Dialed in on 12 milligrams SIP, IM, but the E2 is actually still high at 35, and the DHT I'm using kind of dials that in for me, but as you described, this is inconsistent. Some days are great, some days are meh. Okay, so you're dialed in, but E2's at 35, and do you feel like without the DHT that you're taking, erections aren't good? Is that what's happening? I would kind of need to know what's going on to help you diagnose this here. Yeah. It looks like DHT, erections might not be good, and you're using DHT to dial them in. And if things are inconsistent, are they pushing in the direction of too much DHT, acting like an AI? Or is it pushing the direction of some days it's working and some days it feels like the high E2 again? High E2 produces a very specific feel in the penis. It is not rigid even when it's flaccid. It's spongy and soft. When the androgen tone in the penis is up to par for TRT, it should be kind of firm even when it's soft. Yeah. So, you've got it. I did a video on high estrogen versus low estrogen somewhat recently. It was about a month ago. You should scour that and just look at the breakdown that I gave on what it feels like when you actually feel the organ when estrogen is too. So you've got to know if you're either going over in DHT relative to estrogen or you're going over in estrogen relative to DHT. You've got to understand that. All right. How would you transition from SIP to prop? I would take 1 week off the Cypionate so you have a head start of that crap getting out of your body and then start prop. Yes, the week off. Yeah, exactly. Exactly that. If you can tolerate 2 weeks, that'll be better because you'll be back down to that baseline. And then the day you inject the prop, you're going to shoot up to, physiologic levels of test. Also, thank you for your work. Mostly dialed in based on your free content alone. That's great. Mastering SIP course is fantastic. Really helped me. Awesome, bro. Yeah, that's what we're doing here, man. That's what we're doing. All I'm doing is I don't even have any ideas on TRT. It's strictly data driven. It's literature driven, but it's driven by what I see for years now. I don't have anything that I'm strongly biased on. I'm biased on what works. So that's what goes into the content. Man, this thing here, the logic I use to dial people in that, pay us a lot of money and are frustrated with sexual dysfunction, it's all in this thing. Yeah, everybody needs to have that. It's 30% off the codes on the screen, boys. Or the code's in the description. For PFS, does everyone need an aromatase inhibitor? No, the answer is no, but a lot of them do. Yeah. Now, I've got a guy dialed in on low dose Cypionate with PFS, and everything works, right? I also have guys on PFS that after some time using androgens, they stop over aromatizing and under converting to DHT and things resolve. That, in other words, they're cured from PFS because that's the primary problem. Now they're just on TRT. Your hybrid protocols really open my eyes to what's possible. Yes, they can. They can take you from a lukewarm protocol to fucking rock and rage in erections and libido that makes you want to tear your girl's clothes off when you see her. You think her feet are sexy suddenly. That's DHT, boys. Yeah, totally. I mean, it can. I mean, that's just again, cream is the anti-estrogen. It's the anti-PFS. It's one of the best things. It's so potent for me in reducing the estrogenic signaling that I've got to infuse a more aromatizable substrate like Cypionate once a week. That's why I do that. And it just works out perfectly. 6 days of the week, my libido is like when I was 13 and I first started thinking about all that shit. And then on day 6 to 7, it's it drops a little. And I don't care because then I'm going to inject the next day and everything comes back. But, the libido part wouldn't be dialed, and erections are great throughout if the infusion recipient wasn't there. Hybrids are really, really, really useful. Really useful. And it's fun. You get to use 2 different types of testosterone. I mean, it's kind of cool. I think it's fun. Love the channel. Keep up the great work. Been watching the nootropic stuff. Yeah, we won't do any more topics, any nootropic topics moving forward, but there's a lot of history with this channel and nootropics, but we've moved on from that for a variety of reasons. YouTube actually does not like that, and I can't have that inhibiting our growth because it definitely has. Yeah, it definitely has. The channel growth that people have always said that we deserve is about to happen based on the metrics I'm seeing and what we're doing. So we'll be up there at 100K. Probably take a couple years, but we'll get there. When's the best time to test for E2 on every other day injections or daily? Peak and trough is the best time on either of those. Who are your favorite personal development people? Jim Rohn. Yeah, Jim is. I like Jim Rohn, but it's so old. All his content's from a long time ago. So, it's he talks very slow, and if you like that kind of style, that's good. I like Jim Rohn. He was one of the first people. Him, Brian Tracy, Dale Carnegie, honestly, Napoleon Hill. Napoleon Hill is like probably my favorite personal development person. That's the guy that wrote all the Think and Grow Rich and how successful people think and the laws of success books, because he studied millionaires like Henry Ford, Dale Carnegie, and others. But now, like, honestly, I've always liked Tony Robbins because he breaks down how your mind is thinking about, like, your goals and slows it all down into, like, kind of a framework. Now, this is going to sound like not English, but the basis for what he teaches comes from a discipline called neuro-linguistic programming, which is a study of thoughts. It's really it's the study of subjective experience, what happens in your head. And if you can slow it all down and manipulate it, you can get yourself to do some crazy shit in life. So I like Tony Robbins for that reason. People think he's just like a rah-rah motivation guy. Actually, it's NLP. Only see the upside as great advice. Yeah, I do what you just said, talk myself out of it. Totally. That's just it. I mean, if you look at successful people versus not, like I can tell you having reached success in my 30s and then compounding on it now in my 40s, like I never talk myself out of anything. I always think things are going to work. And I know that it won't deep down, but I don't like, if I sit there and think it won't work like right away, I won't do anything. I won't take the action. But because I know how it works ultimately, which is if you keep doing this, you will get anything you want in life. You keep your mind focused on the fact that you're going to get there, it will happen. It will happen. But you must push and you must evolve over time. I'll go through iteration after iteration after iteration of trying something, and it might take me a year. It might take me 5. But I will do it. Recently, in the last 7 months, I learned a new financial endeavor, like to make money. It took me 6 months to learn it to where I could do good, and in the month of January to mid-February, I made $50,000. I don't know what that averages out to, like $37,000 a month, but it's because I didn't talk myself out of it. I'm like, I can do, you have to believe you can do anything. And then you have to just push through and do it. But most people live their lives for the pub time, to have their, Mick Ultras or whatever and hang out with their friends. And I think that that's good and you need to do that. But I live my life to grow. The dopamine hit for me is not, 8 beers or pot or anything. it's growing. I feel so good after deciding, hey, I'm going to do something, and then it takes me 6 months, a year or more, and then I do it. Yeah. But you need enough data, like you achieving things. First, it's like all mindset. You've got to think like this, like all upside, I'm going to do it. You don't focus on the negatives at all. You have to be a little delusional. Most people think you're delusional. They're actually the delusional ones, though, because they think negatively about what will happen before they even try anything. That's delusion. If you think about it, that's actually delusional. You can't predict the future. You can only create it. So, I don't know where I was getting at with that, but like it just, once you have enough achievement because you have the right state of mind and the right thinking, then you just look back and go, oh, dude, and every single one of these instances when I decided I was going to do something, as long as I didn't stop and I continued to evolve my approach and I didn't get down when it wasn't working, consistently down, every single thing I've achieved. So, that's how it is. That secret, though, that everything actually is within your grasp, but you're going to have to put the work in, and it's going to take a long time. But you will do it as long as you just see only the upside and kind of trick yourself into thinking, yeah, this will work. You kind of talk yourself into making it work, and then you make it work. That's the kind of thing that normal people who don't live their lives to achieve shit don't operate with, and they have a failing philosophy. The brain and the thinking about your growth in life is like a operating system. If you have the wrong one, you will not achieve things. If you have one that is conducive to achieving things, you will achieve things. Can you be an over-aromatizer even if the E2 falls in range? It depends on the dose. I mean, it depends on the dose. Like if you're at 80 milligrams of testosterone a week and the E2's at 28, you're in range, but you're over-aromatizing for that dose. At 80 milligrams a week, I'd be at 10 because I ran 70 a week as an experiment years back, and I was at 8 or 9 or something. Pissing my brains out, feeling totally crappy. Erections were good. Libido wasn't that great. If on 6 milligrams of test prop daily, 1 click of cream 10% and 120 of HCG, should I just stop prop and go to cream only? It's a little bit of a weird bifurcated protocol. It's a little low dose of the prop, but maybe that works. That's too little testosterone in my opinion. But if you are a hyper responder to the things you're doing here and you're in the physiologic range all day in total testosterone, then you're good. Is Masteron high androgenic and acts similar to DHT? Yeah, Masteron is more anabolic than it is androgenic, but it is pretty androgenic too. Yeah, it's pretty androgenic. The most androgenic DHT derivative that you could use is Masterolone, Proviron. The androgenicity that comes with that stuff, you'll feel like a Greek god, dude. You're going to feel like, GQ guy. You will feel very confident and very naturally masculine. Like when a problem arises, like and other people around you can't figure it, like don't know what to do, you immediately know what to do. And the confidence you have about saying you know what to do is unshakable. That's DHT in general. But, Proviron is highly androgenic and does those kinds of things. What are your thoughts on hybrid tests? I've had tests where it's prop combined with test E in a vial. I'm not a huge fan because you can't control where everything goes that way. You can only monitor what the bloods do in response to that. Whereas if you're running 100 milligrams cypionate a week and you add a click of cream on top of that, you can do it every day. You can do it every other day. You can do it every third day. You get to control that a lot more. Whereas like these pre-built, combo ester things, like you can't control it. All you can do is observe. Your body is now a vessel for reaction, and you don't really have that much control. You can modify the doses after you look at the bloods and control it to an extent, but it's not as controllable as if you did. If you ran individual doses of both esters in the doses you wanted to and thought would make sense. Hey, Ryan, from your guys on prop as their main test source, do you have more luck with every day or every other day? Every day, all the time. Yeah. every day, all the time. Outwilling the Devil, Napoleon Hill. I don't know if I know of that one. Sounds great, though. Anything that guy writes is great. Anything that guy wrote. Do you have any guys who can't handle 125 HCG every day? In the context of a bad TRT protocol, yes. You've got to include that context here. Having some trouble with gyno flare while trying to boost fertility. What is your estradiol ultrasensitive at peak? What is it? What is it? Now, because that drives this. I mean, if your dose is too high on test, or if it's an over-aromatizing dose, the HCG is going to make things worse. I don't know if you're not taking an AI on that. It's going to make things worse, I can tolerate at 5 clicks of cream on the scrotum. Guess how much HCG a day? 330 IU. It's like 2,200 IU a week of HCG. Tolerated fine. Diamond cutters. Great libido. Because I'm on a protocol that is pretty much just DHT centric with moderate testosterone. It's all in context, my brother. Now, there is something to say. So HCG is it's a little bit tricky because, it stimulates your immune system when you're being born, your mother's HCG. So it can interact with things. It's producing a cascade of neurosteroids, steroids for the brain, which affect neurotransmitters. So, people that get anxiety on HCG, that's why. So it's not just making your testicles work. It's like you're agonizing these luteinizing hormone chorionic gonadotropin receptor sets in the testicles, and then they're producing hormones that go and affect your brain. So, aside from estrogen, it's that too. So it's like maybe it's too much HCG. We never know. But dialing in HCG really comes down to the rest of your protocol and how dialed in that is, specifically where estrogen is landing on the protocol that you're on. All right, boys, I'm going to end the stream. Great questions. Content all this week. I wanted to announce that I'll be in Florida from the 20th to the 27th of March, but I'm going to do film and edit a bunch of content this week, so there'll still be content that rolls out that week. Yeah, and just if anyone is a coaching client, and I've told most of you guys, and I'll get with the rest of you soon, or people thinking about booking, still book if you need to book. And we'll get on the fact-finding call before I go and set you up and everything, and then I'll just be gone for 7 days. Otherwise, this week, content, look forward to it all this week. Banging out bangers over here, bro. Never-endingly, dude. Those of you that are new or just newly to the channel, you came to the right place. I give a crap about making sure you guys have good sexual function. I know what it's like to not have it. I had it in my early 30s. That's what prompted me to start messing with hormones. Many people have it and it ruins their lives. Once they get sexual function back, their life changes. And that's what I'm about here. And setting the record straight. Because there's a lot of shit out there that just doesn't make sense and is steering guys in the wrong direction. So all that will be infused as it usually is in content this week.